Now I need to take that 32 divided by the 3 will get us close to 10, which would get me to 30, 10 times that. And I'd have 2 left over and 2 over 3. So the total amount of fabric was 10 and 2/3 yards. So it's an equal groups problem. To find the original length of fabric, we will first write 2 and 2/3 as 8/3 and then 4 in fraction format. And then you just multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. Once you've completed that, you just need to take 32 divided by 3, and it would be 10 and 2/3 yards long. You can estimate to check whether your answer is reasonable by looking at, recognizing that 32 divided by 3 is going to be around 10. You could also look at it like this. 2 times 4 is going to be close to 8. And if you were to multiply this times 4, it's not quite 4, but 8 plus 4 would be 12. So you can see it's going to be between 8 and 12. If you took 2/3 times 4, that would be closer to 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. And if you took 8 plus 4, you get 12. And it's pretty close if you consider the fact that it's between 8 and 12, it's 10. So it's a pretty reasonable answer. Example 2, multiply 2.5 times 1 1/3. So again, you start with the shape. So I'm going to do 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 makes 5. The denominator stays the same. In multiplication, you don't need like denominators. You remember that it's only in addition and subtraction of fractions that you need the same denominator. So when we're multiplying, we don't care about the denominators. So I'm going to just take 3 times 1 and get 3, plus 1 makes 4, and that goes over the denominator of 3. So now I have 5 times 4 and 2 times 3. I can recognize something here. I don't know if this might confuse you, but maybe it won't. I can see this 4 divided by 2 is 2 over 1. So I can reduce this before I get my answer of 10 thirds. And then 10 thirds is the same as 10 divided by 3. 3 will go into 10 3 times. Subtract that, that would be the numerator, and the denominator would be that. So I'd have 3 1/3 would be the answer for 2.5 times 1 1/3. So just remember, first you write the numbers in fraction form. So if it's in mixed number format, you have to use your skills from that lesson where you took the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator to get the new numerator and keep the same denominator that's already there. Then you multiply the terms of the fractions, your numerators times the numerators and the denominators times the denominators. Here you can see they didn't reduce it to 10 thirds. We just had 26. We had 10 thirds. They have 20 over 6. You can still find the answer to that. 20 over 6 would end up with 3 2/6, but then it would have to be reduced. Notice our answer just ended up right at 3 1/3. It was already reduced because we did our reduction right here. All right, example 2, multiply 2.5. Seems like we just did that. So let's do some practice problems here. So if you have 1.5 times 2/3, letter A, I need to convert that into an improper fraction. I'll do that for you real quick there. That'd be 3/2 times 2 over 3. All right, and in this case, you go ahead and answer that. Should it end up with 6 over 6, which is the same as 1. All right, for letter B, 1 2/3 times 3/4. So first of all, write that in an improper fraction format. That'd be 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 makes 5. So it'd be 5 thirds times 3/4. Okay, and you'd get 15/12 as your answer, or you could recognize, oh, these two cancel. This is in the numerator, this one's in the denominator. So they cancel each other out, and all I'm left with is 5/4. And 5/4 is the same as 1 1/4, because if I divided 5 by 4, that would look like this: 5 divided by 4, and that would be 1. I'd have 4 here, and I'd have 1 as the numerator and 4 as the denominator, 1 1/4. All right, letter B, or sorry, C. 1 1/2, which is 3 halves, times 1 2/3, which is 5/3. Okay, maybe you recognize this right off the bat, that those cancel each other out. This would be 5 halves. And 5 divided by 2 is the same as 2, which gets me to 4. And there'd be 1 for the numerator and 2 is the denominator, so it'd be 2 1/2. Letter D. 1 2/3 times 3. So for letter D, again, I'm going to convert this into an improper fraction. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 makes 5/3 times 3. What do you have to do with the 3? Well, it's a whole number. You have to put it over 1. Now you just multiply those out. You can recognize that. Hopefully that cancels it out, and all you're left with is 5/1, which is the same as 5. All right, and letter E. 2 1/2 times 2 2/3. So that'd be 4 plus 1 makes 5 halves. 6 plus 2 makes 8/3. Okay, now I need to multiply that out. I could do 40/6 if I wanted to, but I see that I can do some reducing here, because 8 divided by 2 is the same as 4/1. Now I have 20/3. So I have a lot simpler problem to work with when I divide 20 by 3. 20 divided by 3, that's going to get me to 6, 18, that'd be 2/3. Okay, so this would be 6 2/3 would be my final mixed number answer for that. The reason why we're putting it back into a mixed number answer is because each of the problem's numbers, mixed numbers, were mixed numbers. So letter F. 3 times 1 3/4. So in this case, I'm going to multiply 4 times 1, which is 4, plus 3 makes 7/4. Now 3/1 times that would be 21/4, and 21 divided by 4 would be 5, which should get me to 20, and then 1/4. So the answer to this would be 5 1/4. All right, let's do letter G. We'll do that down here. So letter G, 3 1/3 times 1 2/3. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 makes 10/3, times 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 makes 5/3 in this case. And if I was to multiply those out, I'd end up with 50/9. And you can see I can't cancel. 10 and 5 can't cancel each other out because they're both in the numerators. One has to be in the denominator, one has to be in the numerator, or else it doesn't work to cancel them out. Now here we just had to multiply straight across. We couldn't reduce. So this is in its reduced form here, 50/9. Now we just need to divide that. 50 divided by 9. Looks like I could get, oh, what do I got? 6. Would be 5. So I'd get to 45. And that would be 5 left over. So it'd be 5 as the numerator and 9 would be the denominator. So it'd be 5 5/9. Letter H. 2 3/4 times 2. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus 3 makes 11 over 4 times 2 over 1. We have to put the whole numbers over 1. Looks like I could cancel that. 1 over 2 in this case. Both are divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now all I'm left with is 11 halves. And maybe you know what 11 halves is. Maybe you know that 5 times 2 will get me to 10, and 10 is 1 away from 11, and the denominator just stays half. So 5.5. Letter I. If I have 2 times 3.5, 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 makes 7 over 2. And this should be over 1. Check this out. This 2 cancels that 2 out. They both turn into 1s. All I'm left with is 7. 7 over 1, which is the same as 7. All right, and letter J, check the reasonableness of the products in E and H by sketching rectangles on a grid. So if I was looking at E, which was 2.5 times 2 2/3, I need to have one. Let's start out right here, and let's say we go at least 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. So 2.5. I've got 3 total there. 1, 2, 3 units. And I have to go at least 3 units this way. So I'm going to have a box on my grid that's 3 by 3 at least. So to get to 2.5, that's going to be right about here. So 2.5, and then it said 2 2/3, which is slightly more than half. So that would be across here. So this direction, I'm just doing the 2 2/3, and down here would be 2.5. So from here to here is 2.5. From here to here is 2 2/3. So what did we get for our answer on the previous page here for letter E? It was 6 2/3. So if we look at this, do we have 6? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This would count as 5. This would be 6, would be halfway, because that would be 6. And then you'd have, if you're looking at the previous page, it was 6 2/3. You can see that it's going to be, that'd be like almost 1/3, 2/3 right there. You got 1/4 there. It's just a little bit. So you can see it's very reasonable. So this was 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, 4 holes. These 2 count together as another one. So 5 holes, 6 entire parts of the grid. You can see that it matches up. So that would be checking the reasonableness and sketching it on the grid. I'm going to ask you to just give me a true on this part for letter J. For letter H, I'm going to see if it is reasonable when I draw this out. So I'm going to look at 2 3/4 and 2. So I need to go 2 3/4 at least. So I need 3. And then I'm going to go 2 this direction. So now I have a grid. This would be representing H, the 2 3/4 times 2. So would this represent that? Well, here's what 2 3/4 would be, approximately right about here. And that would include this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And then these 2 here would add up. You can see that this would be 3/4 and this would be 3/4. So is it reasonable to say that this grid, is it reasonable that we got the answer of 5.5 by looking at this grid right here? Yes or no? Okay, you should have answered in this case yes, because if you look at it, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. this would be considered half here, half here. That'd be 5 holes, and then remember there was just a quarter piece of each of those, so that's between those two little pieces, there's 2 quarter pieces, which makes a half. So you do have 5.5. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. These two count as one because they were half parts, and then these 2 quarter pieces would end up to be that half. All right, in the letter K, write and solve a word problem about multiplying a whole number and a mixed number. So a word problem that would use something like that or anything like that. It doesn't really matter what it looks like, but it could be any one of those. It could be anything really. So go ahead and answer that, and we'll review those answers later. All right, excellent work. That's the end of today's lesson. Make sure you complete all of your practice problems in your written practice 1 through 30. Saxon math only works when you complete all 30 problems. You can't do half. All right, have a good night, and we'll see you next time.